Hey everyone, Gurky here, bringing you another Mongol Star Dive video. We're going to go over the developer's notes that they just released. Let me first say that as more of a hardcore gamer, I don't see the same levels of fatigue in certain aspects of the game that casual players might. People that can only play for an hour, 2 or 3 a day, or whatever. But I do understand that from a casual player's perspective, that there needs to be some improvement with certain things in the game. For those of you that have played Epic 7, the game ended up turning into basically farm wyvern all day. And, one out of every 100, 150, 200 pieces of gear will be usable. Now, the way the system is set up in this game, in general, is far worse than Epic 7 was. In Epic 7, you would have the stats that would randomly show up on gear. And then from there, when you upgraded it, where those stats would go. Okay? The first level of RNG was always the worst. Typically when you got a piece of gear with a stat you wanted, and then you upgraded it, it wasn't a huge deal if a stat went somewhere you didn't want it because you wanted all the stats. This game is completely different. Way too many layers of RNG. So let's go on with the developer's notes. Since reaching #1 on both major app stores after launch, blah 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 blah. Farming fatigue. To get straight to the point, we have determined that improvements are necessary and are currently finalizing the improvement plan and its implementation timeline. Convenience should have been our top priority, but there were areas where we fell short. Monsterlings, equipment, and premium salmon puree. To speak of the overall direction, blah, 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 fatigue, low drop rates, etc. So, as a result, we are working on increasing the monsterling capture rate in Rift and improving the trait grade filter in combining convenience. Here's a small portion of my issue here. Now, they might not know this, and a lot of you might not know this either. And even though it does waste a little bit more of your time, you can exit the Rift and go back in to reset the drop rates. If you go in there and you go through the first 3 stages and you get 1 monsterling, leave, go back in, everything resets from the beginning. Now, a lot of people might not know that, and I understand that it's extra work you have to do, but there are ways to get around the low drop rate. I'm happy that they are increasing it, and I'm hoping, and I'm going to get a little bit of pushback on this, but I'm hoping that they are only increasing it in the rifts. And maybe potentially increasing it a little bit for the, the special / elite / boss drops. But the regular monster drops, I don't want anymore. I absolutely do not want any more. Because I'm telling you right now, if I get another Mander, a Shelly Mander, or a Rocky Mander, or any other Mander, I'm gonna fucking blow up. I have not seen a single issue with drop rates in this game, other than the boss in Elites or whatever. So, with that being said, they're going to make some improvements. So, the monsterling types. Attack, defense, and HP were originally designed to allow the same monsterlings to have more variations. However, we concluded that during the farming process for obtaining options, this only added stress rather than serving the intended design purpose. As a result, we will first remove the types and assign attack type stats to all monsterlings. Additionally, one of the motivations for playing the Rift is to obtain puree. Blah, 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 blah. They're going to give you 6 per run, which is the maximum you can get. Finally, we're also closely reviewing equipment acquisition and conquest. Based on what we have confirmed, the random option generations combined with the high acquisition and crafting difficulty was creating significant farming stress. As a first step, we plan to increase the drop rates for both materials and equipment. Now, let me say something here, and I'm okay with people pushing back on some of my opinions. I'm okay with that. I think the biggest problem I have, especially with being in Discord and running a YouTube channel and interacting with a lot of people, I have a problem with everybody absolutely going ape shit, batshit crazy because they don't have a full set of 5-star legendary prime gear maxed out on day 2. Okay? So I've got my game open over here on the side. I'm not going to scroll over. But I'm going to explain it like this. I'm on, what are we on? Day 6, day 7? I'm a very active player. I do make content and I have a life outside of gaming. So, some days I play more than others. But I get in and I get my shit done. I have 2 pieces of prime gear and about 10, 20, 30, 35, 40 pieces of purple gear. I have 3 complete sets of purple gear and 2 pieces from the Magic Vine and Warden helmet. I think one of the issues I have is that once you complete the conquest, you can go back there and you can just auto skip it, farm it, whatever the auto clear, whatever the term is, and you can go in there and you can hit one button and RNG gear, materials, or whatever. We're at the end of week 1. I don't think there's at the current point in time. I think if they were to make any changes, it would be to either increase the amount of the materials needed to craft it, or reduce the amount of materials to craft it. I don't think they should go in there and increase the drop rates on everything. I am one of those people where I wholeheartedly believe that it should take a month, or even 2 months, or even 3 months, depending on the game, to have a fully maxed out, decked out team free to play. I don't believe in this concept and entitlement that people need to go in here, I don't know, get a flare and have her completely max limit broken, full gear, full everything, 3 monsterlings with 4, 8, 12 prime stats after a week. That is not me. That is not my belief. I think people should be earning it. And I cannot wait for this world to recycle back to people earning stuff and then feeling good and proud about what they've earned. And not about, oh my God, I hope the maintenance lasts an extra hour so we can get some more free rewards. I absolutely hate that. I am not an entitled person, and I do not like the fact that this entire world is turned into one big entitlement fucking service. Anyway, I do agree with some of the changes that they're making. With even with the purees, the guaranteed after you complete a rift, that's fine. Those are the end game RNG materials. I don't think that they should be handed out willy nilly. So anyway, they're changing the monsterling types, PC improvements. They're adding in auto navigation. I'm not entirely sure how I feel about this. I think auto navigation is absolutely something that should be on mobile, just for the convenience factor. I haven't had any problems moving around and getting to places I need to be. Thankfully, there's no auto attack on here, so people aren't going to be able to click a button, go here, and attack everything on the way. It's a PC game. Go play the game. For mobile players, if you need some assistance in auto navigation, I promise you, I'm totally fine with that. But the PC version, no. So anyway, let's go over everything. So removal of stat distinctions by monsterling type. Eldorado Guardian event capture rate increased on 100% and base grade adjusted. Base grade adjusted for monsterlings obtained from the Eldorado Guardian event. Guaranteed puree upon rift clear. Increased monsterling capture rate in the rift. Increased material reward drop in Conquest. Increased equipment drop rate in Conquest. Auto movement feature for PC. So here's another thing. And what I hope they do is I hope they send everybody a couple copies of the Eldorado Guardian to make up for the people that didn't get it at 100% drop rate. That's an entitlement I think everybody is entitled to. Something of that nature. Future additional improvements. Monsterling option grade filter improvements. I'm actually looking forward to this. And the reason being is I'm sure like everybody out there that is trying to min-max or, get some prime stats or even, the purple stats, I would love to be able to sort and filter by the grade of a trait. So I can go ahead and just see all my monsterlings with purple traits or prime traits. Absolutely need that. Event story skip feature added. I think you should be able to skip all the story. I haven't read a single line of the story. I play the game for the game. Auto lock feature based on monsterling rarity. No. I think that if it's optional, absolutely. I don't want to go back in there and unclick shit because it's auto locked. I would like to see an auto lock feature based on monsterling trait rarity. PC version attack button hold, press support for continuous attacks. All right, we are preparing to improve build plan for May that includes monsterling option. Blah 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 blah. All right, so they're making a lot of changes and they're trying to get rid of the fatigue. And I said I don't. The fatigue doesn't affect me, at least not yet. So I'm glad that they're doing stuff that the community wants, and I'm looking forward to seeing how the progress of development goes on down the road. Anyway, like, comment, subscribe, y'all. Peace.